Hello students, in the first week of this MOOC course on solid and hazardous waste management, we have 3 modules, and the first module is on the types and classification of solid waste. In this module, we will be learning that what is the definition of waste, what is the classification of waste, and how to classify the solid waste. First of all, let me try to know that how the waste are generated. Basically, when we use any material, that material is not completely used by the man, and some part goes as waste. Similarly, when we produce something, whether it is at industrial level, whether it is at domestic level, there also all the raw material is not converted into product, something goes to the waste. By definition, waste is defined as any unwanted or unstable substance that is discarded after primary use is called as waste. They are generated from human activities as well as by the animal activities. In the recent times, due to urbanization, rapid advancement in the industrialization, or we can say haphazard industrialization, has led to an increase in the production and consumption of processes, and that is resulting in the generation of waste. Let me try to define the waste. According to the Basel Convention on the control and transboundary movement of hazardous waste, wastes are the substances or objects which are disposed of or are intended to be disposed of or are required to be disposed of by the provisions of national law. According to European Waste Catalogue, waste has been defined in the section 4.1 of this waste management. Waste is defined in the section 4.1 of the Waste Management Acts of 1996 as well as of 2001 as any substance or object belonging to a category of waste specified in the first schedule of the Waste Management Act of 1996 or 2001, or for the time being included in the European Waste Catalogue, which the holder discards or intends or is required to discard, and anything which is discarded or otherwise dealt with as if it were waste shall be presumed to be waste until the contrary is provided. According to the United Nations Statistics Division, that is sometimes called as UNSD, wastes are materials that are not prime products, that is product produced for the market, for which the generator has no further use in terms of his or her own purposes of production, transformation or consumption, and of which he or she wants to dispose. Waste may be generated during the extraction of raw materials, the processing of raw materials into intermediates and final products, the consumption of final products, and other human activities. Residues recycled or reused at the places of generation are excluded from this definition of waste. The European Union defines waste as any object that holder discards, intends to discard, or is required to discard, that is called as waste. Now, we have learnt that what is a waste. Now, let me try to classify the waste. Depending upon the phase, waste can be classified as solid waste, liquid waste, and gaseous waste. Solid waste, as the name is indicating, these are solid in nature. These also includes some liquid and some semi-solid wastes also. The examples of the solid waste are waste tires, scrap metal, latex paints, furniture, etc. Liquid waste, as the name is indicating, these are liquid in nature. These are produced at domestic level, at commercial level, as well as at industrial level. These liquid waste contains domestic washings, chemicals, oils, used oils, and other hazardous household liquids. The gaseous waste. Gaseous waste, as the name is indicating, the gaseous wastes are gaseous in nature. These are also produced from our domestic activities, commercial activities as well as industrial activities. The examples of gaseous wastes are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxides, ozone, methane, etc. There are many examples of the gaseous waste. Okay. Now, let we come to the definition of solid waste. Any unwanted material disposed by human activities which can neither flow in water streams and nor escapes into atmosphere immediately in gaseous form is called as solid waste. Government of India has notified solid waste management handling rules in 2016 by Gazette notification, and in the solid waste management and handling rule 2016, solid wastes are defined as means and includes solids or semi-solid domestic waste, sanitary waste, commercial waste, institutional waste, catering waste and market waste, and other non-residential waste, street sweepings, silt removed or collected from the surface drains, horticultural waste, agricultural waste, dairy waste, treated biomedical waste, excluding industrial waste, biomedical waste and e-waste, battery waste, radioactive waste generated in the area under the local authorities and other entities as mentioned in the rule 2 of the solid waste and management handling rules 2016. We tried to find out the definition of waste in this act. The definition of waste is not given in any act which are enacted by the government of India, but the definition of solid waste is given. Now, let me try to classify the solid waste. Solid waste can be classified on the basis of the source of their generation, on the basis of their types as well as on the basis of their properties. On the basis of source, solid wastes are classified as municipality solid waste, sometimes also called as MSW, industrial waste, institutional and commercial waste, biomedical waste and agricultural waste. Based upon their type, these are classified as garbage, rubbish, bulk waste, ashes, street waste, dead animals, construction and demolition waste, sewage waste and sludge, plastics, mining waste, radioactive waste. Several other classifications can be given based upon their type. Based upon their properties, solid waste can be classified as biodegradable waste or sometimes called as organic waste, non-biodegradable waste called as inorganic waste also, hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste. Municipality solid waste are mixed waste. These are commonly referred as trash, garbage or refuse. This municipality solid waste comprises of street waste, dead animals. These dead animals includes pet animals as well as farm animals. There is market waste, abandoned vehicle, then household garbage, rubbish, construction and demolition debris, sanitation residues, packaging material, trade refuse, etc. These all are covered under municipality solid waste, or in nutshell we can say municipality solid waste is mixed waste that is generated within the municipality limits. This municipality solid waste does not include industrial waste, biomedical waste and e-waste. The proportion of different constituents of municipality waste vary from place to place, season to season, depending on the food habits of the people living in an area, on the based on the lifestyle living in an area and standard of living and extent of commercial and industrial activities in an area. In the developing countries, the physico-chemical properties as well as the constituent of the municipality solid waste may be different from the physico-chemical properties and the constituents of the solid waste in the developed countries. It is difficult to give the composition to the municipality solid waste, as just now we have discussed. that the solid waste generated in different communities, in different countries or different places is having different properties. Central Pollution Control Board, Government of India, has tried to give a composition to the municipality solid waste. I will say that the composition that is given by CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, is very empirical in nature. This Indian municipality solid waste that contains about 40% compostable matter, about 3.8% of grass, about 0.8% of paper, about 0.6% of plastics, about 0.44% of glass or ceramics. It contains metals about 0.6%, and this contains stones and ashes about 41 to 42%, and miscellaneous matter that cannot be given or that is not identifiable is about 11 to 12%. This composition of solid waste is very, very important, because based upon this we can decide that what kind of treatment or what kind of management be adopted for this waste. Now, let me come to the industrial waste. As the name is indicating, industrial waste are the waste which are generated during industrial activities. Let me take one example. In a thermal power plant, electricity is produced by burning the coal. When we burn coal, fly ash is produced. So, fly ash is an example of industrial waste. Let me take another example. In the mining industry, whatever we mine, that all 100% is not mineral. It contains lot of waste that may be in the form of earth or some other minor minerals that will come under the category of industrial waste. In addition to this, our chemical industries produce large number of industrial waste. The waste which are generated by our industries, they may be further classified as toxic and non-toxic waste. They may also be classified as hazardous and non-hazardous waste. They may also be classified as biodegradable or non-biodegradable waste. The main sources of the industrial waste are chemical plants, paint industry, cement factories, metallurgical plants, thermal power plant, as we have just now discussed about fly ash, petroleum, coal, gas, sanitary, textile, food processing and paper industry. These are some of the examples which generate industrial waste. Well, while traveling to different places, I have clicked some pictures of the solid waste disposals. Through this picture, you will learn a lot. You see in these pictures, the waste is disposed in open, and a number of birds and stray cattle are visiting to those waste dumps. In addition to this, in pictures you will see that a number of rag pickers are trying to collect the materials from this waste, from which they earn their livelihood. So, what I conclude from these pictures, that this is not a waste, rather this is a resource that has been placed at a wrong place. If this solid waste can be used as a resource in different processes, that time it will be very easy for us to handle this problem of solid waste management. Otherwise, this is going to be a very challenging issues for us in future. Let me come to the institutional and commercial waste. Institutional and commercial waste are generated from different institutions and different commercial activities, and these include administrative offices, educational institutions like schools, colleges, universities and public buildings such as offices, schools, colleges, hospitals, government centers, prisons and other commercial establishments like wholesale and retail stores, restaurants, hotels, markets, warehouses, etc. Agricultural waste are produced from the agricultural activities which we do at the farm, as well as agricultural waste include the waste which are generated during the processing of the agricultural produce. Agricultural waste include both natural, that is organic, and non-natural waste, that is generated through farming activities. Waste generated from dairy farming, horticulture, seed growing, livestock breeding, grazing lands, market gardens, nursery plots, and even woodlands all comes under the category of agricultural waste. Some of the agricultural waste include spoiled food grains, vegetables, animals and plant waste, litter, pesticides, fertilizers, etc. The agricultural waste that is containing pesticides and fertilizer, they further contaminate other components of the environment. You might have seen in newspapers different news items, or you might have seen on the television one or the other day, there are news items regarding the these effects of pesticides or mortalities or morbidities due to the pesticides during the farm operations. Similarly, you might have read some news items about fertilizer also. I will suggest my students that let they go through the newspapers of last 3 months and try to find out that how these pesticides or these fertilizers have affected the environment. Let me come to the biomedical waste. Biomedical waste, sometimes also called as a hospital waste. These wastes are produced from hospitals, from veterinary hospitals also, medical centers and nursing homes. These may be solid or liquid waste, and these include discarded blood, sharps, soiled waste, disposables, anatomical waste, cultures, discarded medicines, chemical waste, etc. As far as these biomedical waste are concerned, Government of India has passed this biomedical waste management and handling rules in 2016, and in this these biomedical waste management and handling rules, the classification of this biomedical waste is given, that we are going to study in detail in the coming modules. But here I would suggest the students, please have a look on the this biomedical waste management and handling rules 2016. So they come to know about the different categories of the biomedical waste which are given in that act. Along with this, I will also suggest to my students to know about the different classes that are given by the WHO regarding biomedical waste. Now we will classify the waste based upon their type. The first type is garbage. Waste that include animal and vegetable waste generated from our kitchens, our cooking, food servings, slaughterhouses, market refuse, vegetable peels, leftover food, skin, bones, meat of slaughter animals, etc. They all come under the category of garbage. Basically, garbage is putrefiable in nature. This is having significant amount of moisture. If this waste is not disposed immediately, I will say in 2-3 days, this may lead to production of odor or foul smell at that particular place. Next category of solid waste is rubbish. Rubbish arise mainly as the result of households, commercial and institutional activities. This excludes garbage and ashes because these are termed as rubbish. The examples of rubbish are paper, cardboard, cartoon boxes, torn clothes, bulk waste, etc. The other category is bulky waste. As the name is indicated, these are bulky in size. These bulky household waste consist of household furniture, appliances, for example, stoves, washing machines and refrigerators, mattresses and springs, rugs, TV sets, water heaters, tires, lawn mowers, auto parts, trees and plant debris that also come under the category of bulky household waste. Ashes are the fine powdery residues These are cinders and clinkers which originate from the burning of fossil fuels as well as wood, and or we can say the ashes are produced from the burning of any combustible material. These are generated in our houses, in institution as well as in the industrial establishment. The one ash that is called as fly ash, that is generated in the thermal power plants, is a big danger to our environment. Regarding the fly ash, we will be discussing in the next modules in detail. Street waste, as the name is indicating, street waste are the waste that are generated from streets, walkways, parks, beaches and vacant plots. These comprises of leaves, dirt, dust, litter, paper, plastic and other vegetable matter and dead animals. Street sweepings contains a significant amount of dirt. It has been reported that these contain 40 to 50% of the dust that is inert in nature. Dead animals include the animals that died naturally or accidentally, and they are categorized as dead animal waste. They are also categorized as small animals such as cats, dogs, rats, rabbits, poultry birds and large animals, example horses, cows, goats, buffaloes, sheep, etc. Yes, these dead animals doesn't include the animal waste that is generated at the slaughterhouses. The animal waste that is generated at the slaughterhouses, that is part of industrial waste or considered under industrial waste. Construction and demolition waste. Construction and demolition waste materials are generated during the construction, refurbishment, repair and demolition of houses, commercial buildings, roads and other structures. They are generated in large amount. These are mainly inert in nature. The examples of demolition and construction waste are broken bricks, cement blocks, window panes, doors, sanitary items. Then sewage waste and sludges. Sewage waste and sludges are the settled solid components, residual or semi-solid material that are categorized as sewage waste. You might have studied the sewage treatment plants or effluent treatment plants. You know that over there primary sewage sludge and secondary sewage sludge is generated, and that all sewage sludge that is generated over there, that is considered as solid waste. The waste that is generated by the septic tanks, that is also considered under this category. Plastic is such a big problem. The theme of the World Environment Day in 2018 was Beat the Plastic Pollution. Plastic are generated as waste from almost all sectors. That includes agriculture sector, construction sector, even consumer goods, household, healthcare, hotels and catering, packaging, telecommunication, air and travel industry. Mining waste are generated from excavative operations of mineral resources. These mining wastes include materials such as topsoils. You know that mining is done in two ways. It is either done open mining, when we just remove the topsoil and we start mining the mineral, and second one mining is that we do inside the caves. In both type of minings, large quantities of the waste are generated, and these wastes are necessarily to be removed to have access to the mineral resources. Radioactive wastes are a special kind of waste. Radioactive wastes are generated from several activities. The major activities from which radioactive wastes are generated, they include our nuclear testings, nuclear power plants, our hospitals. They are the major sources of the radioactive waste. Radioactive waste, as you all know, are hazardous in nature, and these are the byproducts of nuclear reactions. We also know that radioactive materials or radioactive waste, they decay over time, ranging from a few days to millions of years. I would like to give one example. For example, you take the case of iodine 131. This is a radionuclide that is generated in the nuclear power plants, and the half life of this is just 8 days, whereas the another radionuclide that is generated in our nuclear power plants is strontium 90. The half life of strontium 90 is about 28 or 29 years. So, there is a huge gap in the half life period, and this half life is very important for the purpose of management and disposal of radioactive or nuclear waste. Now, we will attempt to classify the solid waste based upon their properties. Based upon their properties, these can be classified as biodegradable and non-biodegradable solid waste. Biodegradable wastes are also called as organic waste. These are the waste that can be decomposed by natural processes such as composting, aerobic and anaerobic digestion. This composting and digestion and several other methods which can be used for the management or to recover the resources from the biodegradable waste will be discussed in detail in the next modules. The examples of biodegradable wastes are green waste, food waste, paper waste, biodegradable plastics. Yes, these have recently been introduced. Human and animal waste, sewage. As far as this sewage is concerned, if we do its proper treatment, if we do its proper disinfection, then it can be used as a very good quality manure in our agricultural fields, then slaughterhouse waste, etc. Non-biodegradable waste, as the name indicating, these are those waste, those cannot be decomposed, and these remain as such in the environment for very long periods, and then they give their ill effects on the different components of the environment. The examples of non-biodegradable wastes are plastics, glass, rubber tires, styrofoam, fiberglass, metals, and nuclear waste. Solid waste can also be classified as hazardous and non-hazardous waste based upon their properties. Hazardous waste are the chemical material that can no longer be used for its intended purpose and is known to be harmful or potentially harmful to plants, animals, and human health or to the environment. Hazardous materials may be toxic, reactive, ignitable, and corrosive in nature. Hazardous materials also includes explosives, infectious materials, radioactive materials, as well as ignitable or volatile materials. Whereas non-hazardous waste are those substances, those are safe to use commercially, industrially, agriculturally, or economically. Or in the nutshell, we can say whether a material is hazardous or non-hazardous, that is decided based upon their 4 properties. One of them is toxicity, second of them is their corrosivity, third of them is their reactivity, and fourth of them is their explosibility. If a substance is having any one of these 4 properties, that will be called as hazardous waste. So, students, in this module we have studied that what is a waste, how the waste has been defined by different agencies. Then we learned about different classes of the waste depending upon their phase. Then we learnt about definition of solid waste, that is given in the Solid Waste Management Handling Rules 2016. And then we learned about the classification of waste depending upon their sources, depending upon their type, and depending upon their properties. In the end, I will suggest my student to do some homework. They should make a list of different solid wastes which are generated at their houses, as well as I will also suggest my students to do one small practical. Let they collect the solid waste of their house kitchen or of their hostel kitchen and try to find out its moisture content. Thank you.